Welcome to this video in which I'm going to explain you about handling virtual machines high availability. In this video, I'm mainly going to talk about Azure Virtual Machine High Availability SLAs, so not really the technical side in the first part, but then followed by the more technical one, really explaining you the concepts of Azure availability sets. Now let me start with giving you some insights on Azure Virtual Machine High Availability and how Microsoft responds with SLAs or service level agreement. Overall, outside of Azure, a service level agreement mainly points to the amount of uptime of any resource, like a data center, a physical server, physical storage, network components, and so on. Since Azure is also a domain data center, we're also talking about SLAs, because the SLA somehow gives the customer an idea about the overall availability of the data center resources. Now, quite important, specifically for Azure virtual machines, although Azure by itself, I'm talking about the Azure platform, the data center, by itself is high available, meaning it's based on having redundant components and having multiple data centers all over the world. Whenever you deploy a virtual machine in Azure, it's not 100% guaranteed that it will always be available. So the official feedback terminology that I copied from the Microsoft website is that for all virtual machines that have 2 or more instances deployed in the same availability set, we guarantee you will have virtual machine connectivity to at least one instance at least 99.95% of the time. Now, let me rephrase this a little bit. So what it means is, whenever you deploy a single instance of a virtual machine, there's no guarantee that it will always be available 24/7. However, when we start using a high available solution that's called availability sets, that I will cover later on in this section, we can actually optimize the guarantee and guarantee the uptime of our virtual machine. Now, what happens if my virtual machine, even in an availability set, faces downtime? Then Microsoft will compensate you by providing you service credits. If the availability is less than 99.95%, then the compensation will be 10%. And if it's less than 99%, meaning a couple of hours on a yearly basis, the compensation will be 25%. So the solution for having high available guaranteed uptime of your Azure virtual machines is using availability sets. Azure data centers, as any other data center in the world, can face 2 types of platform events, which affect your virtual machine availability. It can be a planned maintenance or unplanned maintenance. Planned maintenance is pretty easy to understand. It's the periodic updates that are required for the Azure platform, like patching physical machines, or maybe even replacing components. Where the unplanned maintenance mainly points to true disaster. Unforeseen faults in, again, underlying hardware, physical components, or even full downtime of the Azure data center, where the solution is using availability sets. How can you avoid failures having virtual machine downtime? Configuring multiple virtual machines inside an Azure availability set. Or even if you want, configuring dedicated application tier into specific separate Azure availability sets. Like one availability set for all your domain controllers, another one for web servers, another one for database servers. And then even on top of that, maybe using load balancers in combination with availability sets to not only protect your virtual machines, but also protecting the traffic that's coming towards your virtual machines, like in case of a website, for example. Now, when we configure an Azure availability set that I will show you later on in an upcoming demo, there are 2 main settings to keep in mind. It's a full domain and update domain settings. Now let me quickly walk you through the difference between default and update domain. A full domain is a group of virtual machines that share the same power and network switch, like in a physical data center. and they are separated across up to 3 fault domains. So basically having your virtual machines will be spread up between 3 different physical racks, physical servers, where an update domain points to a minimum setting of 5 updates domain that are being defined by default, giving you the option, the flexibility to extend it up to a maximum of 20, where again you can group those VMs together that can be rebooted at the same time. And then from the logical image, it's fault domain 0, 1, and 2, and within the fault domain you can define additional update domains. And then some best practice would be to create dedicated availability sets for each application tier, like the web tier availability set, the data tier availability set. Because what happens if one of your machines go down? In case of the availability set of the web tier, even if 2 machines are going down, you still have 1 left, which is, again, the ultimate setting within the availability set. I know it sounds a little bit complicated, so let me jump to another demo on how easy it is to configure the availability sets from the Azure portal. So from within my Azure portal, I'm selecting New and searching for availability sets. It will integrate again with the Azure Marketplace and showing me the Microsoft availability sets, and at the same time giving me some other suggestions that are somehow related to high availability as well. So I'm selecting the first one, availability set from Microsoft, and confirming the creation. It will ask me for a unique name of my availability sets. Availability set 1, where as you can see I can use my 3 fault domains and my update domains, which by default is 5, which could be extended all the way up to 20, but I'm going to keep my 5 for now. And then linking this to my subscription using my previously created resource group and confirming the creation. This shouldn't take that long. So from my notification area, it's starting the deployment. I'm going to close it for now. And deployment is succeeded. So if I'm jumping over to my resource group, Azure Resource Group 2, I should be able to find my availability set. Here we go, packed AV set 1, where from my settings, the next step would actually be adding virtual machines. Now I don't have any virtual machines available for now since I didn't deploy one, but out of the previous demo from the quick create, there was also an availability set being used. And what I wanted to show you here is that it doesn't take anything more than creating the availability set and then adding your virtual machines inside, and again specifying the fault domain and update domain settings that you want to use, which completes my demo on configuring availability sets. And with that, we're at the end of this video. I would like to see you again in the next one, talking about Azure Resource Manager templates.